Let me introduce to you, if you need an introduction, to my friend Jimmy Franklin, who is the founder and the head of the Franklin team. So many good things are coming our way as a result of our affiliation with the EXP organization. But at the top of that list for me is the up close and personal opportunities that we're going to have with some of the most amazing people in the real estate industry. Jimmy Franklin is at the top of that list. There are so many people everywhere who'd give a right arm to have some personal time with him and tap into that brain trust that he carries around with him. We're so grateful to have him here today, sharing with us what he's done to build an incredible business, an incredible team. Let's let him know how much we appreciate him.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming today, and thank you, Frank, for allowing us to talk. Frank and I have been friends now for 30 years, so this has been a dream for us to be able to work together and to have this opportunity to do so. Oh, the clicker, yeah. So just a little warning ahead of time. You've all heard Frank speak. This will not confuse you with any speech that you've ever heard from Frank as far as public speaking. You're not gonna be thinking that we're the same level of public speaking. So I am Jimmy Franklin, the founder of the Franklin team. And first of all, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna speak a little bit about some of the fundamentals that I think got me to where I am now, especially in the early years. And then after that, Andrew, Carrie, and Sarah are going to speak about some of our programs, which is probably really more what you came to see. But you know, a lot of times when you go to a good concert, you have to see the first band first before you come to see the headliner. So that's what's happening here. When I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today that might provide some kind of value, I was thinking about the characteristics that I think are important that make a successful real estate career, and there's a lot of them. Professionalism, personality, knowledge, work ethic, work smartness, if that's a word. Networking. It's not, like I say, not one thing. There's so many things. And one of the reasons that I want to talk a little bit about where I came from and how I kind of got here is because, number one, I think when you hear about my story, you'll come to the conclusion that if this dude can, have any success, that should be pretty easy for you guys. And second of all, I think it'll show one of the other essentials of this business, which is attitude and perseverance, which I think are every bit as essential as some of the other things that we'll be speaking about today. Let me see if this is. Founder of the Franklin team, 1982. So a little bit about my story. I was a terrible underachiever in high school. I finished smack dab in the middle of my graduating class. I thought, well, when I get into college, things are going to be different. I'm going to start over, and that did not happen. And within a couple of years, I dropped out of college. And I had no excuses. I was both my parents were college graduates. I was smart enough to do better, but I was lazy and unfocused. And so no excuses. I would find reasons why it was everything but what it really was, which was me. It was my problem, my fault. So the next 6 years, I worked the kind of jobs that I was qualified for, and there's not a lot of demand for a slacker college graduate. But in the summer of 1982, things were looking up. I had a job in the energy sector. and we were buying our first home from U.S. Homes for $56,500, 1982. And on top of that, I was clever enough to qualify for some Harris County bond money at the unbelievably amazing below market rate of 13.75%. And so I was feeling really good about myself coming up on the, and on my 27th birthday, we were closing on this house, July 30th, 1982. And I was, optimistic beyond belief. And my boss called me into the office and said, business was way down and he's going to have to lay me off. So on the day I turned 27, I became a homeowner and an unemployment statistic. But that was also the day that led me into my getting my real estate license and starting my career. When I got my license, I was, I had, no, that's not it yet. When I got my license, I knew nothing about being a realtor, nothing about business and running a business, and no one that really could help me in my career. The Century 21 office, the broker that I had, really provided no support or information on how to do that, and yet charged 53% of my commissions with no cap, by the way. So, but I learned a lot in those years. I had grown up a little bit, and my work ethic was better, my maturity level was better. On top of that, if that wasn't enough, 1 year later, my beautiful daughter Sarah was born, and 2 years after that, Andrew was born as well. So it was critical for me to get my act together. And 1982 was the beginning of an era of a market that, for those of you who've been through the financial crisis, but not the 80s, some of you in here were adults in the 80s, and you would probably attest to this, that the 80s, from a real estate perspective, made the financial crisis look like going to Disney World. It was horrible. But I learned a lot of the fundamentals that I learned during those years and practiced led to a lot of the success that I have today, and I want to talk a little bit about that. First of all, accountability and work ethic. So, when you're a realtor, when you're a real estate agent, you're self-employed for the most part. Most of us are self-employed. At some point in our life, everybody in this room has probably worked for someone with a W-2 type of situation. You work for an employer, the employer held you accountable. If you didn't give your employer an honest day's work, you were going to be out in the street. In real estate, what I learned in real estate is that nobody's going to fire you. You pretty much can do whatever you want. When if you want to, take a 2-hour lunch or go at a happy hour with a buddy, go for it. If you want to spend the day shopping or playing golf or watching television, that's fine too. That's up to you. And yes, we did have television in the 80s. So, and what I learned is that most realtors did not handle this lack of being held accountable very well. The self-discipline that was required was pretty hard to handle. There was a lot of opportunity to find something to do that wasn't work. I'd noticed that the office, which everybody went in the office in those days, the office was kind of a place to go and gossip or play cards or read, paperback novels, wait for the phone to ring, wait for people to walk in. And that, and what I believe to be the case, and I think it's probably similar now, is that most realtors don't work a 20-hour week, much less a 40-hour week. So when it comes to accountability and work ethic, what I kind of want you to do is challenge yourself to be your employer. Ask yourself the question, if I was an employer, would I be happy with me as an employee? Or would I be putting myself out on the streets because I'm not giving my employer a full day's work? You need to plan your days. You need to plan your weeks ahead of time. You need to set your goals. You need to live up to those. You need to live up to those goals, and look at every week again as if you have an employer, because really you're the only one that's going to be able to make that happen. And it's something that, even when I first got into the business, I found myself thinking, man, this is great. Nobody's making me, I can go home if I want. And that lasted a pretty short while, and I realized this is a bad idea if I think that I'm going to, treat every day like the boss is away from work, because the boss is away from work every day if you're a self-employed realtor. Number 2 is patience and perseverance. So I don't want to sound like that old guy that everybody avoids because, he's talking about critiquing the younger generation about, things, and everybody wants to get away from that guy. Having said that, we do live in a world of I want it now. I want it without sacrifice. Kind of a world of lack of patience and so instant gratification. Kind of a world. And so I think it's important to keep in mind that just doesn't really work. It doesn't work in life. It doesn't work in the world. My first year in Century 21 Western, I did $1 million in production. That was in 1983, my first full year. In 1984, I did $2 million in production. In 1985, $3 million. Last year we did just over $600 million, $9 million in gross commissions. No magic pills, no instant. This is how you do it. But you have to stay patient, and you have to persevere, and you have to go through some tough times. Real estate is a real estate career is not a sprint; it's a marathon. So it's a lot more fun than a marathon, by the way, but it is a marathon. And if you stay with it, there is absolutely no reason that practically every year, I guess if you're in the business 40 years like I've been, you're going to have an exception once or twice. But there should be no reason that every year you don't do more business than this year. Every year you should do that because of all the things that all the people you'll know. I knew nobody when I got in the business, and I don't even know how many people we have on our list of our spear now. So if you keep that in mind, there's absolutely no reason that you won't do better each year than you did the year before. Professionalism. So one of the things I want to mention on professional, excuse me here, be professional, not only to your clients, but to the agents that you co-op with, and to the people that are in the service industry, such as your lender or your title employees, or anybody that provides service. And when we're realtors, we have a lot of people that call on us and provide service. Always be professional to them. Be nice to people. Treat all people with dignity, even if you can't see how they can help you reach your goals. First of all, the obvious, you should just do that. That's the thing. It feels good to make people smile. But even if that's not in your thought process, I've found that it's unbelievably pays off in business opportunities I could have never imagined. Just, helping somebody else with no condition has come back to me with business that I would get later or business that was referred to me. So it's just a good practice, and it's pretty easy to do, and it'll make you feel good. And then on top of it, you'll get some business out of it. But I would also challenge you to take that to another level and be, when you're giving advice to someone who is your client or someone you're talking to about being your client, always give them the advice that's in their best interest and not necessarily what's going to just put food on your table. And that can be tough to do sometimes because you're in the business to make a living. But a good example would be, say, trying to, or when you have an opportunity or you're presenting a listing, and you ask yourself, would I take this offer? And that's the advice that you should give your client. And again, that can be challenging if the situation is there, but credibility and reputation is everything in this business. And so it's just a good way to practice, and it will come back to you. You might talk somebody. I've talked people out of moving. I've talked people out of buying because I just didn't think it was right for them at that time, and it's almost always come back in some form or fashion. Network, build relationships. There's almost no limit to places that you can go and make friends. Church, social organizations, your children's school, children's sports teams. It's the foundation of everything in your business. It should be the foundation of everything in your business. Try to make friends. Try to build relationships. Reconnect with old friends that you've lost touch with. Unless you lost touch with them for a really good reason, then don't call that wacko. So, but seriously speaking, the relationships are everything. I'll give you an example. We've talked a little bit about it, probably more than you want to hear about our, the numbers that we have. But let's say, for example, someone contacts me, and they, we have our resume and and then they contact someone else, and they have really solid numbers. But when we have a big advantage in our favor, but if you've established a relationship, if somebody's established a relationship with that person, and they don't know me other than what I have in my website, they're going to pick the relationship every time. They're not going to pick the Franklin team or Mike Cedar or Lance Loken just because they have numbers. They're going to pick the person who helped them with their assessment. When my kids were in soccer and youth baseball and basketball, I would sponsor all those teams, and I would offer all the parents on those teams help if they needed help with an assessment. It was not with a condition, but who do you think they called? And I was a $2 or $3 million, $4 million producer in those years. So, and there was plenty of people that were bigger producers than me. So it's the most important thing that you can do to build future business. Build network, build friends. The fifth thing I have is find someone smarter and more successful than you are and emulate that person. And, this one is the one that just drives me crazy because it's one that, anyone that would hear it would say, yeah, of course, duh. Of course that's what you do. But it just doesn't work that way. And there's so many people that just know better. And, and so when I was, I don't know, does anybody in here, you guys know Ronnie Matthews? Y'all have heard the name Ronnie Matthews? He was the leader of the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews team, one of the top, Frank knows him from the Remax days, from one of the top teams in the world for decades. And, in the 90s, I wanted to get where he was. He was a lot more successful than I was, and dare I say, a lot smarter. And I had no qualms about calling and asking advice, and I did so. And when he gave me that advice, I didn't say, you know what, I don't think I like that advice. Why would I do that? The guy knows more than I do, and he was smarter than me, and I followed his advice. And I am proud to say that at some point in our careers, he actually copied some things I was doing. But had I been arrogant and, too full of myself, I don't think I would have had the success that I've had today. So that's what I want to say about those 5 things. Now, I want to keep in mind something you might be thinking about, which was some of the advice, some of the 5 points you heard. And I know you're thinking this because you're all realtors. You all know that this is true. But every one of us in here knows someone who is wildly successful in our business, and they are not nice to everybody, or they don't necessarily look after all their clients, and they certainly don't. Their ego won't allow them to listen to people that might be smarter than them or can help them, and that is true. It can happen. I've brought up some things today that I think are helpful. That have been helpful to me, and things that that can help everybody. And I don't think anyone's going to argue that those all are good points. But this isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. If you feel like that you are weak in one of these categories, it doesn't mean you can't be successful. I for example, knew a lot of people that were pretty good cold callers. Not me. I couldn't do it. Fear of rejection, and it's one of those things that, if the more weapons you have in your arsenal, the more successful you'll be. If I had had the guts to do that, I probably would be more successful than I am today. But just because you don't do everything, well, just capitalize on the things that you do well. Tom Brady, for example, runs a terrible 40-yard dash, right? But he's a pretty good quarterback. So you can be good. You can be a good realtor and not do all these things well. But try to do everything you can as well as you can. Now, one last thing before I turn it over to the headline act. The switching gears just a wee bit. A lot of people that are new in this room are going to take to real estate like a duck in water, and you're going to be very successful. There's also some very successful people here right now. One of the things that I want to advise anybody that will consider this is get yourself some help when it comes to your business. For example, what you do in your business, there's so many things that we have to do that to run a business, picking up signs and putting lock boxes on, and putting things in MLS and getting appointments made, that if you had someone else doing this, it would free you up to do what you do well, which is all these things that I've talked about, networked and prospect. And when I was in, it was a point in my life, I woke up one morning and I realized I had kind of passed over the threshold of trying to make it to where I thought I was pretty successful. And it was the first period of time in my life where, since I'd been an adult, where I didn't have a commission that was earmarked for an electric bill or an overdue Visa payment, you know. And I was ecstatic, but I also had a new problem, which is I didn't have a life, and I didn't have and because I was putting all these deals to bed, I had to, I was not able to get out there and network and prospect. And I felt like, you know, an assistant would be the perfect remedy to that situation. But, you know, I was scared because I had been, up until, you know, a few months before that, I had been broke every single day of my adult life. And so I called Ronnie Matthews. You remember PowerPoint 5, right? And I asked him what he thought, and he said, well, he asked me what I felt I was making an hour as a realtor. And he said, compare that to what you're going to be paying this person to come in and take some of the load off of you. And that was the moment where it was so clear. I remembered it to this day, which was, it was just an easy call, and plus I was investing in myself. So that was the moment I think that I realized that my career was going to go on a different level, because I thought of this, in a different way than just, okay, this is going to save me a few bucks. Instead of doing that, saying, no, this is going to make me a lot of money, and it's going to give me my life back. So that's pretty much what I had today. I don't think I did this clicker very well while I was doing it, but yeah, it's a sprint, not a marathon. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at multitasking. But does anyone have any questions before we get into the next segment? Yes.
How many different methods of marketing did you do to really springboard your business? Because I see a lot of agents start out and they try to do everything.
Back in those days, I don't know if if this was a normal thing, but the office I had protected farm areas. Did you remember those? They had protected farm areas where, they would just, if you came in at the right time or whatever, or the wrong time, they'd give you a neighborhood, and it might be a good one, and it might not. And then if the call came in, they didn't ask for somebody specifically, then you got it. And I spent a lot of time, I didn't knock on doors for the same reason I didn't cold call. I was afraid somebody would come to the door and tell me to get off their property. But I did, and I couldn't afford mail outs, so I delivered them, and put them on the door. So that was one thing I did. But the main thing I did was kind of what I was talking about, which was building up my relationships, and then keeping in contact with those relationships as I got to know them. Like I was talking about my kids, the parents on the soccer team. Those people to this day are on my list, and they get something from me on occasion. I don't call them and ask them for business, but they get some kind of an update. We send out market information, and I used to send out a calendar before people quit using calendars, and every year with the Remax balloon on it. See, right in the trash can. But anyway, I did that. There was something else I was going to mention, and then which they're gonna kind of speak to a little bit more here. But my main thing on my number one thing that I did, and Frank knows this, but I built relationships with the best people in the world to build relationships with, which are the building community. Those people see clients every day. They see people who have homes to sell every day. So I built a lot of relationships with those guys. I came a little later to that, like, the first number of years. In the 80s, nobody was building any homes, believe it or not. You would not believe that in Houston, Texas, but nobody was building homes in the 80s. And then when the 90s came, I jumped on. That's how Frank and I met in 1992. I had relationships with David Weekley Homes, and so that's what I did. And there's plenty of things, and they're going to talk about that today on how we've sort of springboarded that as well. So,
Other questions? I'm going to have you ask it on the mic so we can get it on the recording. Anybody else? Don't be shy. This is your big chance. I think they're ready for the A-team. Oh, hold! I see that hand. Hold on 1 second. Here, don't just wait. I need the exercise.
Hi, good morning. I'm just wondering if you do your own social media or do you sub that out?
social media. Social media. I just learned that what that was about two years ago. Yeah, that would be a question for somebody not a baby boomer. But no, that is farmed out now, right? Okay. See, I knew.
Gotcha.
What else?
I see that hand. Got another one.
I'm just curious, do you still produce today?
No.
Hello there. Hey, I wanted to see, how important do you think it is to have a relationship with builders? Like, just go out there and do.
It's critical, but they're actually going to go into detail about how to do that. How to do that. What some of the things that you can do to add value. But that's actually on a future segment that will probably be much more informative than anything you've just learned here.
Hi, Jimmy. I'm not a realtor, as you know. I'm a loan officer, but I was a realtor for many years. In your estimation, what is it that you want from a loan officer? What would you say is the best thing that we can do?
Communication. Communication and when you do those pre-approval letters, that they really are the truth. Yeah, they look good. They look great. And then about 10 days later, got a problem.
So I'm just wondering, what were, you said that you were kind of like a slacker and stuff. What were your most important habits that you formed at the very beginning of, when you first started becoming a realtor that really kind of, helped you to really become successful?
Well, the thing that made me, a college dropout and a crummy high school student was laziness. By the time I got my real estate license, that for whatever reason, I don't know what makes you not be lazy, and then you're not lazy anymore. So our surveys, yeah, I was desperate, and it's no fun being broke. So those were like. It started out because before you know what to do, and we didn't really have the. And I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but the amount of because now it's sounding like the guy who walked to school in the snow, when they were back in the day, and and everybody doesn't know how great they have it. But the fact of the matter is that the amount of support. People like Frank didn't exist back in those days, and I wasn't joking when I said 53% of my commission went out there with absolutely nothing, except a desk and a phone. And there's so many avenues, so much help that's out there. But so to your question, the main thing I just learned was, just paying attention to people and observing and working hard. And then over time, then I kind of figured out that I couldn't just wait for the business somehow to walk in the door. I had to let people know I was in the business, and I had to continue to build relationships. So those were my main thing. Those were the main two things. Went to work. I gave it the 40 to 60 hours a week, and I built relationships, and I tried to do it professionally and right and all that. But that was the main part of it. But the training and mentoring and all that exists today is just light years away from anything that we had back in that era.
There we go. Got some power. So I know you said that relationships is huge in this industry, but when you made the connection with the gentleman that was more successful than yourself, how was it that you got in the door with that gentleman? How did you come to make that relationship and cultivate it? Because sometimes you are looking for that individual, and it's tough to get through the door. So I wanted to hear from you on that.
Yeah, I picked the phone up.
Yeah.
I just called him. I called him, and he called me back.
Yeah. How many times?
It's amazing how that can
him?
work. Do I?
How many times did you have to call him is what I'm saying? Because, you can call somebody, they hang the phone. I'm not afraid of rejection, but,
Sure.
How many times did you have to call that gentleman before you got a connection?
I think he picked the phone up. I think he answered the phone. Cell phones had just gotten to be a thing in those days. They just had them just recently. And I think he picked the phone up. If not, and that was about the same time I met Frank. It was about 30 years ago, but if he didn't, he called me back. And I said who I was. I think he might have known that. It was a smaller little community at that point, but I think he knew that. I wasn't totally a starter in the business, but he called me back, and at some point during the conversation, I felt guilty that he was talking. I felt like this guy needs to go, right? He's got something he's got to be doing because he's a lot more successful than I am, and it wasn't like that at all. So I just called him, and yeah, there's going to be some people like that aren't going to give you the time of day, but there's plenty of nice people out there that will help you. And if one person is mean to you or doesn't call you back, then somebody else is going to be helpful. We'd like to think that if you call us, we would answer the call in the first ring if we're not on the other line.
All right, I think they're ready for the A team, Jimmy.
So we're the ones that actually created the presentation, so we'll know what's on the slides, and we'll keep up a little bit better as soon as we figure that out. Which button is it?
Maybe. I'll just hold on to this.
Okay.
There we go. There was the Q&A. Okay, here we go.
All right, so just, I know there's a question about Jimmy and production, just to give y'all a little background. Sarah and I bought the business from my dad going on 8 years ago, so although he's very involved and will still pick up the phone and help us, especially around our EXP partners, we now run the team and own the team, and Sarah and I are partners, and then Carrie is really the brains behind the operation. She was in the builder world at David Weekley Homes. She was someone that sent us business, and then she wanted to have a career change, and she came aboard as a business development rep for us around our builder business. And then we promoted her to VP of Operations, and very soon she will be the president of the Franklin team. So you have the three people making decisions on the team up here today. So what we want to do today is give you guys more meat on what we do around new construction. So my dad mentioned our numbers, but what he didn't mention is that 60% of our business is builder business. And what we mean by builder business, it's not, hey, you know, David Weekly Homes comes in and says, hey, will you list these inventory homes for us at no charge, and it's you get some production numbers out of it, but it's no commission. So when I say 60% of our business, it is a consumer walks into a model home, they do not have a realtor, they either have a home to sell or they have a lease. Sometimes they don't have either. We're trying to get that builder salesperson to refer us that client. So that is 60% of our revenue in 2021. In 2022, it's probably a little bit less, probably closer to 50%. But we've created programs around getting these referrals. So who in here has a relationship with a builder salesperson? I would assume most everyone, but it doesn't seem that way. So who here has got a referral from a builder salesperson? Anybody? Okay, a couple people. So what we've done is created a system around building relationships, sort of the core tenet of what my dad talked about, but providing enough value to these builder salespeople so we can get referrals. So if you just look at what a builder salesperson is and what their day-to-day is, with their sales assistant, they are in a model home 7 days a week, 60 hours a week. They are constantly meeting clients that are going to eventually need a realtor, and they haven't quite engaged a realtor at that time. And so to us, they are the best referral source you can get. If you have your best sphere person and they send you 2 deals, you're probably sending them Christmas gifts and taking them out to eat and happy hours. We have many builder salespeople that send us 10, 15, 20 deals every single year for many years. Frank was one of those people that sent us business back in the day. And so how do you get that business is the big question. And, oh, you guys are a big team, or is that business sort of just around you guys? I think the answer is absolutely not, but you're going to have to provide some kind of value to get those referrals, and that value is going to look totally different for every single person. But what you're going to have to sort of do is change your mindset and realize that the builder salesperson is not an enemy on the other side of a transaction. They're not the ones that should be picking up a bill if you take them to lunch. You should be the one picking up the bill to take them to lunch. You should be the one working with them on a transaction. Because so many times we hear from our builder reps is that, oh, I hate working with realtors because they make the transaction harder, or they're not professional to work with. And so that leaves people like us who treat them well and take them to lunch and offer these programs we're going to go to as, hey, you're different than the normal realtor. And so what I would challenge most of you is to change your mindset and realize that they could be your best referral source if you treat them that way and if you categorize them in your head that way. So Sarah's going to talk a little bit about those programs, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts, and we'll get as detailed as you guys want. But the whole sort of takeaway on this is you have to have some value. Value could be you're taking them coffee every single day. Value could be taking them, holding their houses open. Our value is a little bit different, but you have to, if you're going to get referrals from someone, you either have to have a relationship or you have to provide value, and preferably both. And so, Sarah, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Hi, yes. So I think some people in here may know, but we do have a home buyout program, which means that our value with the salesperson is we're guaranteeing that the home is going to sell, their existing home. So let's just say a home buyer comes in to buy a home. They have a home to sell and they're not working with a realtor. Ideally, that salesperson refers us. We go out on a listing appointment just like you get a referral from your sphere. We go over the listing, the price, all of that stuff. We offer our buyout. So if the home doesn't sell before the new home is ready, that's when we purchase it. So like a day or two before. If it does sell without us doing the buyout, we offer a free listing because we would be paid on the new home side of the closing. And then our buyout is our best value proposition. The salespeople like having that guarantee, so they don't have to worry about a bust out. And the client loves that their home is sold if they are a contingent buyer. One of the things that I think is really great that we're not like some of these other buyout programs is that if we make any profit on the home, we reimburse that profit after the sale. So we're not in it to lowball them, then make this profit, or not sell the home and then turn this huge profit. We actually do leave it on the market. So there's no incentive for us to not sell the home. There was another value thing I was going to say about that. Now I can't remember. Oh yeah, loyal. Yeah, so if that salesperson refers a client and they go next door and buy with the competitor, and even if we work with that competitor, we are super loyal. We will not offer our program with them. So that's salespeople love that, obviously, because they know that we're not just taking their lead and going to show them property or going to be representing them on the other side. So those two things have really helped our team as far as building that loyalty and trust and credibility.
But the thought process around all of this is when we go and create these relationships with new home salespeople, is we're not going there and saying, hey, give us referrals. That's not the script. We're going there to build relationships, learn about their product, and say, hey, by the way, we have these programs that we have created to help your life easier, sell more homes, eliminate bust outs. And so if you look at my calendar, probably 4 to 5 days a week, I'm taking a new home salesperson to lunch. And I'm not asking for referrals, but what I'm doing is I'm building a relationship, and then I'm telling them how I can help them sell more homes. And so if you do want to go after these builder salespeople, you have to have that value that you can bring, but then you have to build a relationship, and then the referrals will come. I feel like the best use of my time, because after one of those lunches, I'm going to usually get a referral because I have enough value to provide them that they're going to give me a referral that every lunch I should have with a builder salesperson, because that might lead to a $10,000 commission or multiple commissions in a lot of scenarios. And so I'm willing to pick up the lunch because we've seen it work. But if you're going to go out to these salespeople and create those relationships, you absolutely need to have some kind of value, and this is ours, and we'll teach you more of the playbook.
Yeah, well, and we're not just taking them to lunch. We're a partner of theirs. So when they need help with comps, even if it's, I often offer to my people is, if they have even another deal with another realtor and they are not sure if that home is going to sell, they'll reach out to us. Can you run comps on this? The management will often have us check on contingencies for them. So we go to their events. We're really, really always building a partnership, building, like my dad said, networking with these people, and it's also one of those things that it's not just a one deal thing. If we have to do something, because this is a long-term partnership, if we have to do something like I'll talk about in a minute on our lease buyout, we have to maybe not make a commission on one deal. We look at it as a long-term relationship, and these people really do appreciate that we are a true partner.
And in that same sort of vein, you have to go into that world. Is anyone here a member of the GHBA? So no hand. I don't think I saw a hand. Adam and Andrew are, and so you have to go in that world. So GHBA is Greater Houston Builders Association. They do multiple events every year. Guess who you're going to see at those events? Us. And so we're constantly in front of them, because we understand that these builder salespeople can send us, if we get the right one, 10 deals a year. And the cool thing about builder salespeople is they never leave the industry. And so what happens is, say we're really tight with David Weekley Homes. It's one of our best best clients. That David Weekley Home salesperson will be unhappy with them, and he'll go to Chesmar, which we don't have a relationship with at the time, and they'll get us in with that builder. And so when you build a couple of these builder relationships, they will help you get in with other builders. But you have to go to the GHBA. You have to sort of live and breathe their world. And when you do that, again, more and more relationships are built.
And I would say for the people who mentioned, that they had referrals or they've worked with builders, I mean, those would be the first people you represented a buyer on that other end. Those would be the first people I would start with, because you've already done a deal with them. You already know them. There's some, there's some kind of relationship. Hopefully it was a good deal, not a bad one. But so our other program, and we can do a Q&A in a little bit, but another program that we offer that's really very simple is a lease buyout. Has anyone heard of that before? No? Yes? Okay. So it's really pretty simple. What we do is, again, the salesperson would refer us somebody who's in a lease, and we would look over their lease agreement to see what the buyout clause is in the terms of the contract. Typically, on an apartment lease, it's about 2 months, but it varies, so we do review it. And as long as our commission covers the amount that their lease buyout is, we just buy them out of their lease. We're on the new home contract, and so our commission, whatever the lease buyout amount is, comes off of our commission, and that's the deal. So, I mean, it's very simple. No work is really needed. We are there for the new home closing. We represent them, but again, that turns into future deals. We have a lot lately who have come for lease buyouts that are ready to sell again, and so it's an easy way. The salespeople like it because they have an incremental sell. So,
how many of those did we do last year, Carrie? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
So I would say it was probably 50 plus deals where what ends up happening is it's an $8,000 commission. The lease buyout's $3,000. We get it. To me, it's a free $5,000. And so again, but the salesperson doesn't look at it that way. We're creating an incremental sale for them, and because that consumer walks into their model home and says, "Hey, I want to buy a house, but I have $3,000 left on my lease." So I'm going to just wait. And the salesperson, because we took them to lunch, we built the relationship, we told them about these programs, they say, "Hey, wait, don't leave. I have the Franklin team over here. I'll put them on the new home contract, and they will take care of your lease." So we give them the $3,000 at closing, and then we keep the remainder. We have one phone call. Sometimes we go to closing, sometimes we don't. And we made $5,000 for a phone call. But what that also does is it creates more people in our database. So there are times where we do a lease buyout and it's $7,000 and the new home commission is $7,000, and the new home salesperson's like, "Oh, well, I was hoping you guys would make money. I'm sorry." And it's like, "No worries. This is a long-term relationship with us. I know the next time you're going to have a deal that I will make money, so I'm not worried about that." But all we're doing is we're picking up the phone, we're explaining the lease buyout, and we're reviewing a contract. I would say 90+% we make money, but the other ones are a great relationship built, and they're added to our database. And so we now have over 15,000 people in our database that we can constantly bring stuff to and hopefully get referrals. And so it just, even if we don't make money on a deal, we're not worried about it, because again, it's about the long-term sort of partnership with the builder and the relationship with the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think just looking at it differently, I have other realtor friends, and they don't look at the bigger picture sometimes, where building that relationship is huge and not just looking at this one deal, right? So I think that's something I'd like to challenge everybody with too. So some of the other things that Carrie's going to talk about are some bridge programs and different solutions for your buyers, and she is our expert on it, so I'm going to let her talk about that.
I don't know if you call me an expert, but part of our job as realtors is to provide value, but also to find solutions for our clients, right? So I think it's really important for us to get out there, know these new home communities, especially if you do business in a certain part of town. Really get to know those new home communities, understand what kind of products they have, price points, walk the models constantly. If they have events, go to those, because you may be showing somebody resales, and they're getting frustrated. There's limited inventory, they're getting beat out on multiple offers, but then you're like, oh yeah, I forgot, there's this new home community down the street, let me go take you there. So we have to keep those things in mind. And the other thing to keep in mind is some of these different selling solutions that are out there. Some of these you may have seen commercials for before, you may have heard of in different circles, different realtor circles, but I think some of these are really important for you to keep in the back of your mind to have as another tool in your toolbox. So if you look under this bridge buyers section, these are different bridge buyers. A lot of times now they're called power buyers in our market. Knock, Easy Knock, Ribbon, Homeward, those are just some of them. I know that we have closed transactions with Knock and with Homeward, and they work with new construction. So something that you'll have to do is get certified with these organizations before you can utilize the programs. But let me skip ahead. So,
and Carrie, let me jump in real quick. Yeah. This is not just related, these bridge buyers or power buyers, whatever you want to call them, iBuyers. It's not just about new construction. So if you look at what we're doing on a listing appointment now, is we feel like we're options dealers. And what I mean by that is we are not going to pigeonhole a seller into doing a certain thing, because every client and every situation is different. And if we can give them a menu of options that we're proficient in, we're going to be more likely to get that client. And so one of them, we will tell them, hey, we have a group of institutional buyers that if you don't want to go retail and list your house with us, we can help you get those offers, because we have the relationships with these institutional buyers, and we'll present them cash offers. iBuyers, no matter what my feeling is or your feeling about iBuyers, they're not going to go away anytime. So why don't we figure out a way where we can get paid to work with them? And so when we go into a listing appointment, we're talking about, yes, retail, paying us the 6%, that's going to be the way you net the most money, but you might need a power buyer, you might need an iBuyer, and all those different companies will pay you, and if they don't, a couple of them won't. You just factor that into the offer, and they're okay with that, but that's going to give you a better chance to secure that deal. If you're just going in there and saying, hey, the best way for you is only go retail, and that's the only option for you, you're going to lose a lot of people. We've closed a lot of incremental deals with Open Door, OfferPad, Knock, Homeward, because we gave the client, the consumer, the option, and we fit them into a solution that they needed rather than what we wanted for them, with our priorities.
Which kind of goes into what your dad said earlier about finding the best solution. And so when you're thinking about these bridge buyers or a power buyer, and so let's say you do get a referral from somebody at a builder and they have a home to sell. So what these bridge buyers offer is a buy before you sell option. So I know for myself, I have 2 little kids, so even the thought of me putting my house on the market gives me so much anxiety of toys and cleaning up and having it show ready all the time. So you may run into clients like that looking at resale, but also think about this for these referrals that you could get from your builder partners. And so what that offers is Homeward would, or let's just use Homeward as an example. Homeward would buy the new construction home, and your client would be able to move into that home. There's some fees involved. There's rent, per diem rent, and things like that involved. And these power buyers will have to go over all of that with you. That's part of the training and certification that you would get. But then you're able to list the home. They're able to get into their new home. You're able to list the home. The builder has their closing, so they're happy, and everybody wins. So we'll go over that a little bit more. I just kind of very briefly did that. But the other thing to think about is some of these iBuyers. So OfferPad is one that tends to be, I would say, more realtor friendly. As long as the home, there's some fine print, but as long as the home hasn't been on the market or on the MLS, they will pay 3% to you as the realtor. And they also have been working with realtors selling new construction. So they have something where they'll make an offer, they have a 90-day close. So that's just another thing to think about when you're getting these referrals from builders.
And what we do is we take these programs and we market them as our own programs with our database. And so we are driving traffic to them because, again, our whole sort of mindset around any relationship is providing enough value where they want to use us. And so we'll do a video to our entire database that just talks about our white label Homeward product. And it's to us, we've partnered with a company called Homeward. We're one of their exclusive partners. But the fact is everyone here can do that. But we're giving ourselves a reason where we can reach out to our database. So one of these programs might be a fit, they might not, but if it's not, at least we're having a real estate conversation with them.
Absolutely.
We got multiple deals last year just by doing a video on knock. Clients that were reaching out, like, what is this? Tell me about it. I want to sell my home. So just by doing a video after getting certified on a 2-hour course. So it's just, again, having those solutions.
So this is sort of what our white labeled marketing piece looks like for the buy before you sell option. But again, this is something that you guys could go ahead and get certified in, and that way you have that solution in your back pocket. Another thing also, which is off topic a little bit for builders, but if you do get certified with this or some of the other programs, they do have like a buy with cash option too. So if you have clients who are financing, but they're having trouble getting approved in the resale market, they do have that option as well, which can be really helpful. You have a question?
I want to ask you a question. You say very nicely that this group can do all of this. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that we do it through you, the Franklin team, or?
Good question.
Or how do we do it?
Yeah, so if you want to go back to that other slide, those are all big companies that you can use as a realtor. They want, believe it or not, I know a lot of realtors hate iBuyers. I wouldn't mind if they went away as well. But believe it or not, they all want to work with realtors. They realize that we are the ones with the relationship with the consumer. And so as it relates to all of this stuff, you can do it on your own. If it's about going to partner with builders, you can take our programs and we'll help you, and you can take a form of it or the whole thing. That's why this whole EXP partnership works so nicely. So you don't have to do it through us, but I, like my dad's point, emulate what we've been doing very well for 20 years and go take your spin on it and go build those relationships with salespeople and do it on your own. And we'll teach you how to do that. That's what I would do. Yeah, if you think the builder world is something you want to do, you need to provide some kind of value to go, and when you go and build these relationships that you're going to them and saying, hey, I'm not just asking for something, I'm giving you something that will make your life easier. So that absolutely, yeah. I mean, what I told someone in the hallway is that I believe in R&D in real estate, rip off and duplicate. And so you take an idea. That's why I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars to go to masterminds last year so I could learn from other people, and then I implement it into my business. So.
I wanted to say one thing on the knock and Homeward, because those are two that we've definitely used. And sorry for Jackson Henry Mortgage, because the reason for those is they are trying to get the people to use their lender. So that is the kind of, just be aware of that when you go to talk. They give them a better deal if they use their lender. But y'all can probably fight them on that.
Yeah.
But the thing about all these programs is not to just use like we are approved with Knock and Homeward, and what it created a couple of incremental deals for us. But the powerful thing is we're not going to use them on 100 transactions or anything, right? It's able to go to our database and tell them that we're proficient in all these things to provide the value. And so we don't care if they use Homeward or Knock. It's allowing us to go and build a stronger relationship with our people, because that's where the real deals are coming from. Those incremental deals are great, and they will create some incremental deals for you if you use them. But really the more important thing is I'm not just going to my database and saying, hey, bring me referrals. No, I'm bringing them value so they can come back. And remember, I want to remain top of mind to everyone, because that's how us as realtors do well. And whether or not they can use Knock or Homeward, they remember that, hey, this guy is living and breathing real estate. He knows everything about real estate. So when they have someone to refer, whether or not they can use these programs or not, I don't really care. So.
And I know when we started talking about iBuyers within our company and utilizing them instead of being mad that they were in our market, I think OfferPad, Open Door, I see their commercials all the time. I get mailers in my mailbox all the time. So yes, a regular homeowner can go directly through them. That's sort of that convenience that they're selling. But I don't want you to think that you're not providing value by helping that seller go through that process, because it's not quite as easy as they make it sound on the commercials. If anyone's dealt with this, there is some hiccups through it, and you can really be, that representative that helps them get to the closing table. So while they do, provide a service, and we also know another investor that buys homes in Houston, but they really, there's a lot that goes into it. So there's a regular escrow process. There's all of that you really can help and be that resource for your clients.
And there's a company that's not on here called Zavi, Z-A-A-V-I-E, if you guys want to write that down, Zavi. So what Zavi does is it basically aggregates a lot of these offers for a client. I think, what do they have, 12 or 13 in their platform, something like that, where you get a lead, a listing appointment, you can type it into Zavi, and they can give you a bunch of cash offers. So literally every listing appointment we get, we have the option for retail, and then we have the option of a cash buyer. And our cash buyers, we don't tell them we go to Zavi and they put OfferPad or Open Door. We're telling them we have relationships with these institutional cash buyers, and we will present them to you if you want the cash offer. And we're telling them, hey, that's an investor, so they might be lower than retail. But again, we're giving them different options. So Zavi is a way that it can do that for you with all these different iBuyers and institutional buyers. But we're not saying, oh yeah, the ones you got in the mail. No, we have relationships with institutional buyers that we're going to bring you because we're an expert and we have these relationships in the industry. So.
And we do have lots of direct contacts at several of these different companies, so we'll make sure you guys have our contact information, and then you can always reach out to us, and we're happy to get you connected with them as well. So, but I think, whether your referrals from your builder partners use any of these programs or not, I mean, the biggest thing, like we said, is building that relationship, getting out there into the model homes, and one thing that we didn't really touch on, but someone mentioned social media, is really utilize those amazing, beautiful model homes and all those trends for your own social media. You don't want to be a secret agent. You want people to know what you do every day. And those are just ways people love seeing pretty homes. And they have beautiful ones that you can showcase.
Yeah, but the biggest way to back to the builders is coming up with some, who here has a plan with their database on how frequently they touch them, or a plan throughout the year? Does everyone here, I hope, mostly thinks about that? So we've just created a plan around builders. So we have business development reps where if they give us a lead, we bring them a Starbucks card. If they give us a referral that closes, we follow the rules and we bring them a $50 Visa card. So we just have a whole sort of plan around taking them pop buys and taking them, Starbucks and lunches to their model. And so it's just it's a different kind of sphere. In my opinion, it's a better sphere because they're going to see more people that have to sell and buy. And then you just create a system around building relationships with those people. And we have a whole manual we can share of what we do.
Okay, now, so who has questions?
We'll send it to you. Okay. So he said, how do I get this manual? We can send you guys what we do and send it to you. Yeah. So we have a very abundance mindset. We although 60% of our business. So what she asked was, how can you guys stay away from our builders? We don't care. We have a very small, even though it's 60% of 9 million of commissions, we feel like we have just a tiny part of the market, and our job is constantly around building more relationships. And so there is plenty of builders and builder salespeople around that we don't care. We'll tell you who our clients are, and you can go after them, and whoever provides the most value, one of us, we win because we're business partners now. So if you get the client, we're pumped for you. So we're not worried about that. Great question. So there's two real ways. Sorry again. He asked if our relationship with these builders is company-wide or individual salespeople. The answer is both. In the best scenarios. So the goal, if you really want to get bulk referrals, David Weekley, for example, they gave us 75 deals last year that we ended up closing. So we got a lot more leads than that, but then ended up 75 deals. The only way to get that kind of bulk is have some kind of relationship with middle management, like a VP of sales, a division president, and that allows you to go and present to them. So they'll do a meeting, and we present to them at a sales meeting. We bring in breakfast, and we're in front of, in some cases, 100 different salespeople. That's the way to get bulk, and that's the best way to really get ingrained. But you can also just do it with the individual salespeople as well. There are a lot of builders we get business where we're not approved by the builder management, but we have relationships with some one-off salespeople, and we get business that way too. It's a lot easier if you have management approval, but it doesn't mean you can't get business from individual salespeople. Any other questions? She said, is our approach any different if they use another brokerage for listings? We do some of that just because our relationships have asked us to list those, but we don't care about the listings. We really don't, because the big production guys, the ones that have the referrals to give, the Weekleys and Meritages and Lennars, they have a broker that does it at very low cost. Like Pulte, for example, if you go on HAR, we do all of Pulte's houses for them, their listings. Guess how much they pay us per house? $0. So we don't really care about that business. Why we're able and willing to do their listings at $0 is because Pulte gave us 40 referrals last year. And so there's a ton of builders. David Weekley, for example, we never list their homes. They have their own in-house broker, but we're going after that non-realtor referral. John Smith walks into a model, does not have a realtor. That's who we go after. We don't care about their inventory listings.
But I think one thing, for your knowledge, for any of our builder listings like that, we are not taking those leads that might call into the office that are unrepresented. So if anyone calls the office and they're like, hey, I don't have a realtor, I just want to go see this home, we're sending that straight to the builder salesperson. So
and builders are smart about that now. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people take those listings because they think they can get leads out of it. The big production builders, they know that if you're going to do their listings, they want the leads. So we do that as a loss leader so we can get in their meetings and build those relationships with the salespeople, because those are the ones that are the real juicy, good commissions. Like the average deal, what it looks like with these production guys is someone selling a $300,000 existing house, and then we're getting paid on a $500,000 new house. That's like what's typical. And so those are the referrals that really lead to more commissions. Even if you can get a builder to pay you, like I think one of the builders pays us $250 a home. We lose money on that as well. But again, if they're going to send us the referrals, we're okay with that. try to resell. Yes. So I think I understood.
Like
what?
marketing inventory, is that what you mean? Marketing completed homes that they might have available?
Yeah, so good question. So what she said is, do we do anything to help them sell their other homes that aren't on MLS, right? So yeah, so everything, it's back to the mindset, right? So whatever that salesperson wants from us, and sometimes it looks like, hey guys, can you shoot a video in my new model because I'm struggling to sell this one plan, and can you shoot a video? To us, the answer is always yes, because we want to build a strong, whatever we can do to build a stronger relationship with that builder, it will end up likely with those referrals when someone walks in without a realtor. So our mindset is always value, 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 relationship, relationship, relationship. So when they have someone that's unrepresented, they'll think of us. So it could look like doing exactly what you're talking about. It could be holding their houses open. We have agents, we have salespeople all the time that says, oh, I got these 4 inventory that's not going to sell. Can you have some of your agents hold it open this weekend? The answer is always yes, because we want them to think of us when they have a referral. Bob?
Make sure I understand that these builders reps want to give these walk-in, these buyers to a realtor and pay the commission. They don't get paid extra if they don't have a representation?
No. So most, good question. Bob asked do builders get paid more if they don't have a realtor? So yes and no is the answer. Do they get paid more if there's no realtor management? And up here, yes, they do, right? But most builders are very cognizant of the relationship between realtor and builder, and so they will not pass on that savings to the consumer. And the salesperson, all the salesperson wants to do is sell the home. And so the tools that we very briefly talked about, the buyout and the lease buyout and the free listing, they're using these tools because it helps them sell more homes. And so they're willing to refer us, not because we're just asking for a referral. We're helping them get the people on paper. We're helping them eliminate a bust out if the house doesn't sell. And so the salesperson, they just want to sell the house. They don't care about margins. And then most of the big production guys, all the ones we mentioned, they understand in Houston, the average of new construction that ends up with a realtor is upwards of 85 to 90%. So the builder understands that a realtor is going to get paid in most scenarios. They're going to go find their nephew or their neighbor or someone. And so that's part of our pitch to them. When we're at lunch with the salesperson, we say, hey, you're going to put someone on the new home. Why don't you control it with someone that you have a relationship with that has these programs that are going to help you sell more homes and make you look like a hero with that consumer? So since they're going to end up with a realtor on the new home, why not it be me who you can trust, who's your advocate, who's going to cheer, when we're in that home and we're talking about your product, we're going to be on your side. And so most builders understand that a realtor is going to be on the new home contract anyway, and that's why we're able to get these referrals. Yeah.
Assuming that these guys are now all part of the team, they start going out and hitting those builders up, and then how are they going to know if the process is in the community?
So his question was, if we have a loyalty program that we mentioned that if David Weekley, for example, refers us a deal and they end up going and buying from Meritage next door, we won't offer our programs. That's that's related to the Franklin team, right? So you can adopt that loyalty program, or you don't have to. It's served us well that the salesperson knows, because what we tell the client when we explain this is, the reason I know you now, the reason I'm sitting at your dining room table or breakfast table is because that salesperson referred me. So, integrity, all that is important to us. And so we only can offer these great programs, the buyout, the lease buyout, the free listing, if you buy from them. And the consumer always is okay with that. We will lose deals because of that. But then what do? We go back to David Weekley and say, hey, we were loyal. We lost this client. We were loyal. Like we said, we're loyal to you. So again, that reinforces the relationship. But to answer your question, that's only going to apply to, if you want it to apply to your relationship with that salesperson. So I don't think if...
I think he was asking differently, like about us. Were you kind of, did he answer, or are you talking about?
So our loyalty is whoever sends us the lead. So if David Weekley's salesperson sends us John Smith, and John Smith has not committed to David Weekley, we are not going to give them these programs and let them buy from Meritage. So that loyalty only applies if they for that individual consumer that they refer us. Yeah.
So any one of you can go out and establish these relationships and copy the same program or not. It is not going to be a conflict. That's right. What Andrew is trying to say. What you do as an agent is not in any way going to reflect on what they do. So it's two completely different entities. Answer your question? There you go.
And you're not gonna want to market this as the Franklin team buyout, right? Yeah. Like this is gonna be your own program, and if you, we're in the same EXP RevShare group, but the beautiful thing about this is we have our own businesses, our own teams. You can take part of what we do and tweak it, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be wanting to build relationships. I mean, if you guys want to build relationships for the Franklin team, hey, but no, you want to go and it's your own program. Call it whatever you want. I'm not very clever, so I don't have one off the top of my head, but ours is called the Franklin Team Home Buyout Program. And you're going to want to do something different, but tweak it a little bit. So,
and I think the whole idea here is to give you ideas of what we've done and take part of it and make your own, or come up with some kind of creative niche that you think that you can bring value to a salesperson. It doesn't have to be a home buyout program. It can be, just constantly being in front of them, bringing them Starbucks, being a resource to them, or being always available, do all their open houses. I mean, there's just one way that we found that worked for us, and we're sharing it with you, but it doesn't have to be, or it could be. You could be that and compete with us,
Yeah, I told Adam Olson that we have these business development reps, and we wrap our cars, and then all of a sudden Adam's got a business development rep and he's got a car wrapped. And so the thing about all these meetings is hopefully you have one or two or three takeaways, but the real gold is implementing them. And so kudos to Adam. I tell people about these programs all the time, and usually people don't implement. So I'll challenge you guys to take something you learned today and actually implement. And Adam did that, and I know he's getting builder business now because of it. So. Yeah, so she was asking, Carrie, you want to take that one?
Sure. So for companies like Homeward and Knock, these bridge buyers, they have about an hour-long certification program. Some of them are a little bit different. They might have two separate meetings that are an hour long each, but they're all online. And they'll go over the details of that particular program and the ins and outs of it, so you can become an expert on that. Each one is a little bit different. So Knox program is a little bit different from Homeward. But yeah, we can connect you with the person that can set you up for one of those certification trainings. And like I said, it takes a couple hours of your time, do it from home, and then you've got another tool in your toolbox.
Yeah, I think the takeaway is this group of companies can help you provide value and give you options for clients. So you need to go learn. The biggest thing is go learn what they do, because it's hard to bring them up to consumers if you don't know what they do. And so we took the certifications so we would know, because they're all different. Ribbon is different than Homeward, it's different than Knock, that's different than Easy Knock. They all do sort of the same power buying is what they call it, but the certifications will just make you proficient in knowing what they do. So, I don't even know Divvy. Probably. Oh, okay. I don't know what's Divvy.
They buy houses, like they have for a house, and then you rent it until you can
Yeah, they're in one of these buckets. They fit somewhere in one of these buckets. They all have their own little niche, but it sounds like somewhat of what some of them do. So. No. She asked if you had to be pay to get certified. No, they want realtors to get certified. They want them to be their unpaid salespeople, which you can be paid, obviously. Easy Offers. I don't know what Easy Offers is. Is that a company? Say that again. So we that is not Easy Offers. Express Offers. So it's another. I mean, they're in the, I would put them in the iBuyer or wholesale buyer bucket. So it's just another one of these that fit in the toolbox. That's an EXP, and a lot of people at EXP are like, oh, why don't y'all use Express Offers? We do, but there's a lot of ones that fit in different holes here as well. So. Yeah. Yeah, so his question was, what can LOs do to provide? I mean, I think the overall sort of, if you look at what we tried to talk about here at a very high level, it's about building relationships and providing value. And what we did with builders was we created programs around helping them sell more homes. We always tell them, we're going to incrementally help you sell more homes because of our programs. That's what these group are. And I think as an LO, it's the same thing, right? It's incrementally getting, what can you do to help them get a multiple offer situation? Is it because you can pick up the phone and call the listing agent and talk about how great your buyer is and how great the agent is and edify them? That's some value that could help someone get a deal. Is it, being able to get everything done up front so you can do a 15-day close? So it's all, to me, every relationship in business is about who can provide the most value.
So thinking outside the box, would it be good to partner with a realtor and go to a builder in order to introduce yourself with them so that the realtor knows
Absolutely.
you're willing to build them up, edify them in like a joint meeting versus
Yes, so there are a lot of builders out there that don't have a preferred or in-house lender. We get business from a lot of them, or the big, huge production guys, they mostly have it, but there's definitely a niche of going to the builders that sell 50 homes a year that don't have a lender, and you could do some joint marketing with the realtor and say, hey, we're going to implement some of this stuff because I know these 5 builders don't have a lender, so let's go attack these people together, or I'll help you attack it as your loan officer partner, and you're now attacking that builder with them. So when they do get a deal or a referral, you can be the lender. And what also happens if you never get a deal and you're going to a realtor and saying, hey, I'm going to help you do this, that's like, wow, this guy's trying to help me grow my business. I've never had a loan officer do that. He's going to go call on the builder with me. So again, it's just
So even if those builders have their own lender, they still like having backup lenders because those lenders don't always work. So I think I know a lender who like worked her numbers to where she could give back some. I mean, those are hard to beat, but just being even friends with the salesperson. I know Carrie, when I used to call on her, she had her own backup person that she would often refer to because her priority is David Weekley's lender, and they couldn't do a lot of things. So
Maybe
even if
weren't
they
as
have a
creative.
lender, it's always good to build that relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the builder lenders tend to be more inside the box. So there's a lot of good lenders out there that have created a business around being that secondary where the person doesn't fit in that box. So you could take a lot of what we're talking about as a lender and do the same thing with builders, even the biggest builders, because they use their secondaries all the time.
That's true.
Saw a couple hands come up. Yep. Not a lot. Just
Sometimes.
a couple. No, so what we were, he was asking about, we mentioned there's a lot of deals where we don't make money. No, that's the exception rather than the rule. And we do that if it's a relationship that we're getting other business from. And so EXP's rule, I think, is like you have to make a minimum of $600 on a deal. So what we do in that case, we don't ever make zero. What we really do is if there's a lease buyout, for example, we're really talking about the lease buyout. If there's a situation where it's a $7,000 lease buyout and the new home commission is $7,000, what we end up telling them in that scenario is that, hey, we can do up to $6,500 because our broker's going to take some fees. But again, that one deal that we don't make money, that salesperson sends us 4 more that we make money. That's why we're willing to do it. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? So she was asking about how our buyout works. Yeah. So it's really 2 programs in one where if we can be on the new home contract, which in most scenarios it's more expensive, so we're okay doing this, where we give them a discounted or free listing on the existing sale as long as the salesperson can put us on the new home. So that's what we call Plan A, where that we list the house, we sell it before the new house is complete. Then what we end up doing is we charge 6% and then we reimburse them whatever the discounted is, whether it's 3% or less. So we guarantee that they're going to close on the new house. In conjunction with that discounted listing or free listing, we have a program where we buy the house if the house doesn't sell in that Plan A option. And that doesn't come into play until the new house is complete. So up until that time, we're trying to sell the house, and the buyout only comes into play at the end of the process. So it's sort of 2 programs in one.
What percentage do you end up buying out?
Frank asked what percentage. It's not a high percentage. We get a lot of buyouts accepted. So what we do is we get it done up front. So they tell us at the very beginning if they're going to accept our buyout if it gets to that point, because we have some rules around that, where the house can be priced and staging. But we end up buying, double-digit homes every year, but it's compared to the number of referrals we get, it's not a massive percentage. So you would have to, yeah.
Is the Franklin team buying them or going to be buy?
Great question.
So back in the day, the answer is we are buying them even back in the day, my dad would have, a relationship with the bank and maybe have to put, something on a line of credit or put 20 or 30% down. Now we have different lines, approved lines with community banks. So sometimes we put money in, sometimes it's cash, but we actually are the ones buying them. But that doesn't mean you couldn't utilize them if you wanted to offer a buyout and you weren't at the point in your career where you could buy a bunch of houses. And so you can get creative on this. And there are competitors that have copied our buyout program that just use the iBuyers as their buyout. So you can definitely do that. Any other questions?
I'm assuming your playbook has that information in it also.
Yeah. All right. Was this helpful?